Today we're going to be talking about the dreaded plague of White Room Theory Crafting in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. We're talking about how there's an over-tendency to compare everything by slamming it against a singular on-level enemy, oftentimes with all moderate defenses, although to be fair, some people do the fair thing and factor in high AC, given the fact that most of the templates you will encounter are like thug enemies, and those will commonly have high AC. But fundamentally, taking something and slamming it into a defense, moderate or otherwise, devoid of all context or possible combinations, in a role-playing game fundamentally can't really test anything an appreciable amount. There's story leading up to this battle. There are actions leading up to this battle. There are allies that could be supporting this action, and actions you could do in your turn to support this action. There are actions and situations and features in the room that could make this particular action easier or harder. Not to mention there's abilities that do not work by slamming into an enemy, and abilities that work by slamming into multiple enemies, so if you're firing at a singular target, you're not really appreciating their full value. Not to mention abilities that recur, such as the mini spells that can repeat themselves in full-on sustain that I've talked about many times. This is a storytelling game where the combat is heavily teamwork-oriented, mechanically speaking. Everyone acknowledges this, but also everyone seems to put a large amount of emphasis on the gospel of a 1v1 test in a void where time begins and ends with the application of the ability with no class feats or combinations of abilities to back it up. Oh, and this 1v1 versus an on-level enemy, if it appeared in a campaign, would be an extreme encounter, but actually worse because the test assumes all moderate defenses, so you can't actually target a low save. Oh, and on-level is used as an assumption of the average because it's in the middle, even though an average party level +4 enemy is an extreme encounter for the default assumption of a party of 4, and thus a type of encounter that you are not supposed to use frequently. So you're almost never going to run into an APL +4 enemy if run exactly as written. So you're actually running the average as one level higher than it is, and also not really representing the majority of enemies, which will be lower than that. On-level might be in the middle of the level range, but it's not the average level of the enemy. This style of testing is too often incorrectly done and simulates nothing that exists in the game.